Hey, my name is Ill, and if you're subscribed to this channel, you're probably here for RuneScape content. But what if I told you RuneScape isn't the game that I've ever had the most passion for? Instead, I spent about 7 years of my life playing a game called Blade & Soul, which you probably don't know of, and that's because I would consider this MMORPG to be dead in 2023. But there was something that Blade & Soul did that made it stand out from all its competitors, at least for the first few years. And that was...
He really has to use those as he is down to 33%.
Absolutely, looking very, very good.
Uses it. That has a problem he's going for, especially that might just be what they're looking for. Still has one man, Tana now. Cannot tag out, so Ruby's gonna be out, but is it gonna be too soon as rising and with a ball and other side because now he does it! But then Corey looks like he gets the price. He's gonna kill out the build. He's gonna get it. But now
silly person! Why would you do this to yourself? He needs to get this hit now, or otherwise, oh my god.
Blade & Soul is a game developed by NCSoft, who is, ironically, also the antagonist of this video, in the majority of cases. To simplify it, Blade & Soul is a Korean MMORPG, released in Korea in 2012, and lately in Western territories in early 2016. Long story short, it was really, really good. Of course, hype died down after a while, but there was still a steady player base for both PvE and PvP activities. The game wasn't obnoxiously pay to win, the graphics were pretty good, and the majority of players would organise raids. There were also official and unofficial PvP tournaments. Overall, it was a pretty fun experience back in the early days of the Western release. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Now, if we fast forward to the current day, Blade & Soul is a shadow of its former self. Yes, this guy did just fly hack and speed hack to throw a boss off a cliff, killing it instantly. That's genuinely the meta now. Absolutely ludicrous pay to win, a battle pass which is never a good sign, and an attempt to jump on the Battle Royale trend, which ended up with one official tournament playing Battle Royale, which not much of the community enjoyed, only for it to be removed a few months afterwards. Also, if you were to go into Arena, which is the 1v1 or 3v3 game mode for Blade & Soul, you likely won't find a match. And if you do, they'll probably be hacking. NCSoft, over the years, made it pretty obvious that they don't actually care about the player base. You can speed hack, you can fly hack, you can use all sorts of hacks and cheat all you want, and you have a very minimal chance of getting banned. So minimal, in fact, that I'll go out on a limb here and say that you've got more of a chance of former US President Barack Obama turning up at your door and shooting your dog than you do of getting banned. Oh, hold on a second. Former US President Barack Obama? Huh. Now, I could go on and on about how NCSoft is the devil and nothing that they do is right. But let's face it, this game is practically dead and I want to play PvP again. But I can't because no one does it anymore. The game is just not what it used to be. But that's enough yapping from me. How do we revive this MMORPG? Well, first things first, it's not going to take place on the official servers. And this is a weird comparison, but if you're familiar with RuneScape, which I assume you are, the evolution of combat is basically what killed RuneScape. And in the same way, I believe it's the same thing that killed Blade & Soul. we have a thing called Awakening Patch, and this simplified combat so much that a lot of players, after trying it for a few weeks, just uninstalled the game. Now, this may be hard to understand if you've never played Blade and Soul before, so I'll give you a comparison from the same class before and after Awakening Patch. As you can see, despite having the advantage for the majority of the game, it still took about a minute and 30 to kill my opponent, with plenty of chances for me to mess up combo and for him to recover. Now, let's have a look at Awakening BM. Just ignore the fly hack in the beginning. Yes, 90% of his HP disappeared in 2 seconds. Now, given the chance, I wouldn't have used this clip, as it shows some fly hacking and there are better examples of the Fire BM one-shot, but unfortunately Blade and Soul is quite hard to document. However, this probably is a good example of what Awakening affected. A lot of the skill expression died with Awakening Patch, and while it was still possible to get a good game, most matches were completely centered around cheese. Now, I can continue to rant and ramble on about how much I dislike Awakening Patch, but in the fear of prolonging this video more than it has to be, we'll just say we're not using Awakening Patch. And it's easy enough for me to say all that, but to make a Blade and Soul server like that, I'd need a developer that knows how to work with Blade and Soul files, which, is there even anyone out there with that kind of skill set? We'll have to come back to this. Now, before I get into my next point, I'd like to hit anyone that played DNS back in the old days with some nostalgia. For anyone that didn't play Blade and Soul, this means nothing. For people that did play Blade and Soul, it goes without saying. Now, the second thing we need to revive BNS is content. And this isn't strictly prohibited to game content. I mean content creation, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. Blade and Soul is a video game that didn't really get many content creators. That being said, that doesn't mean there aren't any of them. There are certain people that do make content revolving around Blade and Soul. However, they don't get many views, and this is because Blade and Soul, again, is a game with a dwindling player base. Not many people are watching YouTube content revolving around Blade and Soul, and in return, content creators that do make Blade and Soul content don't feel the need to put in much effort to make their videos. I mean, no one's gonna watch it after all. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can get quite far with unedited gameplays and just quick, low effort editing on a video just to get a point across. However, I feel like Blade and Soul, who, for probably the 10th time this video, is a dead game, I personally think a video like this, where I've put a fair bit of effort into editing it, could go quite well. I cannot count the amount of times that I've watched a random YouTube video that I've had completely no interest in, like the most obscure things, but because the editing and the humour in it was enjoyable, I'd watch the entire thing. I'd grow an interest for this specific niche content, and the editing is what carried it. Now, YouTube isn't the be-all and end-all of content. When I moved to this topic, I had a lot of things to go over, and we still do, including stuff like Twitch streams. If you go to the Blade and Soul section for Twitch streams, you'll find maybe 4 or 5 streams, all with anywhere from 10 to 30 viewers. That's it. And again, this is due to the player base. Not many people playing the game, not many people watching content. However, big things like community events still draw in quite a lot of viewers. I mean, for Blade and Soul standards. Before I quit official Blade and Soul for the last time, I ran a beginner/intermediate PvP tournament to get new players into the PvP scene of Blade & Soul. This ended up garnering over 100 viewers on Twitch, which, again, is a lot for Blade & Soul. Except, the official Blade & Soul channel actually did quite a lot of preview patch streams. These would bring in thousands of viewers, anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 from purely just my memory. But the issue is, that was never community driven. Matter of fact, a lot of times people suspected these streams to be pre-recorded, and sometimes I can't find myself blaming them. And I can't seem to find the Twitch stream now, but I seem to remember way back in the day, one of the community managers ended up crying on stream just purely off the backlash from the Twitch chat. So, in a way, I almost understand the pre-recorded streams, but not entirely. And now that I think about it, I don't even think they do that anymore. I don't think they do patch previews on the official game anymore. Wait, let me... There is no script for this, I'm gonna go check real quick. So, turns out, last video was either 2 years ago, which is the last video they show on their Twitch, and I asked around in a few Blade & Soul Discords, and someone said their last notification that they're streaming was 1 year ago. Matter of fact, the entire NC West team, which is obviously the Western subsection of the company, because NC Soft is a Korean company, all got laid off, so not looking great. So as I'm editing this, I went to the Twitch section for Blade & Soul, and I saw that Hullo, who is one of probably the most consistent Blade & Soul streamers, he's played the official version for God knows how long, even through all the dog shit patches and the terrible pay to win and whatnot. He's quitting after like 7 years, which also not very good when people that committed are quitting your game. Yeah, good job NC Soft. So I think I got a little bit sidetracked here, but what I'm trying to get to is that NC Soft didn't do a whole lot with the community, and if they did, it was very surface level and very boring. And I feel like they had a good thing going on back in 2017. So that's why, if this game were to start again, I feel like 2017 would be the time to start. Except this time, play more with the community, do more community stuff, hell, even make some like mini games or stuff that's not actually development based, like I don't know, like a GeoGuessr type thing, but for Blade & Soul type stuff. All that could have been really cool. Just stuff to interact with the community that just wasn't there. Now, at the end of the day, I know that the answer to this is that they are a massive company and all that they really want is money. And that's all you can really expect from them. A lot of what I'm talking about in this video doesn't have like a professional, educated opinion. It's just something from someone that is very passionate about a game that they've played for 7 years. A lot of what I'm speaking about is just my ideals. I've not got a like degree in games development or marketing or anything like that. I'm just saying what I think would work good for the game. So, long story short, just treat the players as if they were human beings, I suppose. Okay, so before we get onto this next point, I have to admit to something that I've sort of hidden for the majority of this video. For the most part, when I was talking about these last 2 points, I talked about them as if they were something that we could put into practice in theory. However, since early April 2022, I've been hosting and funding a 2017 patch Blade & Soul server. And that's actually what you're seeing footage of right now. And before you click off the video thinking that this is some kind of full-on advertisement for my unofficial Blade & Soul server, I can assure you that's not entirely the point. This server, in the time that it's been up, has almost never broken a profit. Any donations that we do receive end up going straight back into server upkeep. And if the upkeep isn't met, I pay from my own pocket. Over 2022, I spent around 2,000 euros on this server, and nearing the end of 2023, I can tell you I have no regrets. We've had our own PvP tournaments, our own mini games like Manhunt. We have a GeoGuessr type thing for Blade and Soul called BNS Guesser, or at least we used to, but we'll be getting that up running again. A lot of community engagement and just generally quite a bit of fun to play the server. So enough advertising, I suppose. Why am I making this video if I've already got the perfect server for what I want to do? So this server is mainly focused around PvP, but we do have PvE elements which you can see in the video right now. The issue we face is the fact that we've got quite a small player base. Most of the people that play this server are people that played Blade and Soul quite a bit back in the old days. So the point of this next section is exposure and retention. As I'd mentioned, this server is mainly PvP focused, and an issue that we run into is the majority of our players are really good at PvP. And now normally this would be a very good thing. I mean, a PvP server with very good PvP is what's more to like. But the issue is actually just that. As we had a pretty small community, we had to modify the matchmaking system in order to allow players to get many games. The way the default Blade and Soul matchmaking system works is that you're able to match with anyone 100 above or below your rating. We completely removed that. So anyone that queues into Arena can match with anyone in the queue. This works wonders for keeping Arena active. However, as you'll see in this clip, I, at the time, was rank 1 and managed to end up against the person on their first game. Someone that I don't think had any PvP experience at all. So, it goes about as well as you can imagine. I did then stop queuing after this win, because I was hoping that that guy would end up getting someone a bit lower rated or someone nearer his skill level. But more often than not, he'll just end up against someone else that will just 2-0 him without any chance of him being able to practice. So what does this have to do with exposure and retention? It's actually to do with the second part, retention. A lot of new players come in here thinking that they can learn PvP, and that's what we want to do, but they'll come into Arena and get stomped by literally every person they play against, making this out to be like, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the Dark Souls of PvP. New players install this server, get into Arena, play 10 matches, all of which they get 2-0'd with literally no chance of beating their opponent, and then they uninstall. We did actually have a mentor system where highly skilled players in our Discord would help out newer players if they asked for it. Issue there was no one asked for it. Admittedly, I think we can put that down to if you're a new player in a new game, it can be a little bit daunting to ask people that are highly skilled or very, experienced with this game for help. For example, I used to play League of Legends, I never played ranked, and I never really wanted to get better, but I would be pretty scared of asking a challenger player to help me out. That might just be me. Another thing that we are thinking of is doing a tournament full of just beginner or intermediate players. I did do this back on the official Blade and Soul servers, and it ended up getting quite a few people into PvP. Issue is, we don't have enough beginner or intermediate players at the same time to do something like that. The next step here is to make guides to get people into PvP, and there are quite a few PvP guides out there for Blade and Soul. The thing is, you can watch however many guides you want, but you're going to go back into Arena and you're instantly going to get stomped again. What newer players really need is practical experience. And I'm saying all this as if this is something that you want to do. And personally, I believe if you're in a state of like limbo, or you're getting tired of the game you're currently playing, or maybe you're a bit burnt out, this is one of the best games that I have ever played, to the point where I can't find myself long term on other games because this combat system is like crack to me. I have withdrawal symptoms from not having this combat system. And now this probably sounds insane, and maybe I am, like, actually mental. But a good part of the reason that this server is even up is that I want other people to experience what I experienced with this game. The issue is it's just hard to get into this game, and some people just don't even know it exists. So in a way, to summarise the retention part of this video, we need new players to keep new players playing. Now I suppose this can now tie in with the exposure part. Has 20 minutes of this video been me trying to get you to play my favourite Mongolian stick fighting game? And the answer is kind of. As I've said, this isn't an official server, and by no means am I planning to profit off this video by getting people to play it. A common sentiment shared by people that still play this game and people that even quit Played & So is that this game had something very special, and it was such a shame to see it go the way that it did. These complaints and gripes normally end up just ending there. A lot of players believe that Played & So had something great, but it's gone now and they can't experience it again. This video is completely different to the stuff that I've put on this channel before. And I may have completely missed the mark with this video, and people might not like this, but if at least one person that used to play Played & So, or even someone that's never played this game before, checks it out and finds that they enjoy it, I'll be happy. And with that, I'd like to answer the question that I posed in the title. Is it possible to revive this dead MMO? And the answer is, yeah, kind of. If you'd like to try this server, please check out the Discord link in the description below. And if not, thanks for watching. And I should see you soon, maybe not 5 months this time, sorry.